everyone. Welcome to Town Hall number 1. Welcome to Fringe. Yay! This is our first, this one feels like we are officially into the Fringe season. Registration opened yesterday, and now here we are to talk about all of the details that are going to come your way over the coming months. I'll start out by introducing myself in case we haven't met yet. My name is Lois. My pronouns are she, her. A visual description: I am a white woman with mid-length brown hair, currently wearing a black dress, gray boots, and a jacket behind me, sitting on a black chair. For anyone who doesn't know, we do visual descriptions for anyone in the audience or on the live stream who may be visually impaired, so that they can experience what we are as well. Do you want to jump in with an introduction?
Yeah, hi, I'm Ellen. I'm the other co-executive director of Fringe. That's who we are.
We do.
And my pronouns are she, they. As a visual description, I'm a white woman with long, curly hair, bangs. It's brown. I'm wearing a blue lab coat and a blue sweater. And behind us is a theater. And it's one of the theaters that you can rent for Fringe.
Okay, and yes, which I'll jump in with so I don't forget. If you are interested in looking at the Broadwater, which thank you to Pedrick and the Broadwater team for letting us be here today. But if you want to give it a tour, I know Bruno will be around after the event is over. So if you want to meet up with him, let me know and I can introduce you. I know this space is open for tours, and the studio, I believe, and the other 2 spaces are booked currently, but you can at least get a visual of 2 of the spaces here at the Broadwater. Okay, before we go any further, I want to do a land acknowledgement. The Hollywood Fringe acknowledges that we are on the unceded lands of the Tongva, Quiche, Gabrielinos, and Gabrieleños. Our statement serves as a practice as we commit to furthering our connection to Indigenous communities past, present, and emerging. You can learn more and find some resources at hollywoodfringe.org/land. Okay, this is being live streamed and recorded, so hello everyone watching in the digital world. Please make sure to ask your questions, get involved in the chat. Roddy,
He's out there.
He's out there, but will be on the chat momentarily to make sure that he's grabbing questions and getting involved with what's happening on the live stream. That's a good time for a reminder. All of our workshops, town halls, are recorded, so if you were unable to make them or want to view them at home on the live stream like people are today, you can do that. You can also view 14 years of events, really do a deep dive into Fringe.
Where's the worst haircut that Lois and I've ever had? It's bad.
You'll see me specifically from ages like mid-20s onward. It gets weird. So that's fun. Hi, y'all, welcome. And Haverty, I'm going to remind everyone that we have a podcast. If you didn't know, it's a brand new program this year that we started with the wonderful David Haverty, who is behind the camera and will be yelling at us to make sure we are using our mics throughout the event. But the podcast we do some episodes that are more about general theater in the industry and the many inner workings of what goes on in the entertainment industry, because just like you, we are curious. So we try to ask the questions we know are on everyone's minds to get to know our industry a little better. And we also put all of our town halls and workshops on that podcast. So it usually takes a little bit longer, but if you're looking for an easy hit play while you're driving, the podcast version is available as well. You can find the podcast on any streaming platform. It is called On the Fringe in Hollywood. So check that out. Do you want to add anything to that, Haverty? No. All right, perfect. Okay, reminder, so we don't have interpreters today. That is because they were not requested, but we do have interpreters upon request. So if you would like ASL interpretation at any of our town halls or workshops, please let us know at least 72 hours in advance at support@hollywoodfringe.org. Send us an email and we will make sure to get that going. We will have interpreters at our opening night party and our closing awards ceremony, whether they're requested or not. But so for any of our workshops and town halls, make sure you let us know if you want one. Hi, y'all. Welcome. Come on in. Okay. Doing great. How many people are new to Fringe? Woo! I love it. If you weren't at the venue panel, I'm going to welcome you all to the family. It's something I love to do because this really does feel like a family to me, and I know so many others. Hi, y'all. Welcome. Another question. How many people have put up their projects on the Hollywood Fringe website? Okay. I like to see it. How many people have registered? Whoa, okay, nice.
Ahead of the curve.
Yes, I love it. You're going to thank yourself later when you're like, hot damn, I got so many items on my checklist done early, so there'll be less to do later. Okay, so today Fringe is a huge subject, and we have a ridiculous amount of pages to go over. The entire event is just going to be Ellen and myself talking at you with more details than any human could reasonably comprehend. So know all of these materials are going to be available on our website. We'll give out several links. You're going to get newsletters about it. We're going to go over the things that we know are super vital to your experience at future town halls and events. So know today, I always say it's a good way to just kind of pick up the questions you have, and that way you can start to get on the right track. So you're not going to walk away going, hot damn, I'm a Fringe expert, ready for my PhD. That we don't expect that from anyone. Hopefully this just starts to get you comfortable along your Fringe journey.
And everything is available in multiple different platforms. So if you're a visual person, you're going to be able to have our participant packet, which we'll go over in a bit. But it's hollywoodfringe.org/participants, where you can see everything kind of visually laid out. These workshops and town halls are more for that, like, I like to have somebody talk to me and me be able to ask questions.
Yeah, and then we have 4 of these, as you saw on our events page. Stephen, come on in. But today, our main focus is going to be on registration, on getting started, like where you should be at in your journey right now, a little bit of planning, and then a little bit of budgeting. So we're going to really focus in on the first important subjects of the Fringe journey. Okay, take a deep breath. I know today is going to be a lot. And I say that to myself too. Speaking of, if I start to chatter so fast that you cannot hear what I'm saying, please feel free to like wave your hands wildly in the air. I've been known to do it. And maybe that's why it's very fast.
Hummingbird.
Our interpreters, God bless them, have had some notes about my speed of speech. Yeah. Okay, so remember, all of these resources available. I'm going to point out some of the biggies right now, y'all. Support.hollywoodfringe.org. That is what we call the supportal. It's going to have an article for every topic we talk about today: marketing, ticketing, budgeting, registration, Fringe venues, the Fringe zone. All of those things are laid out in nice little articles with little sections for which like particular part of the Fringe journey you're on. So definitely check that out. We also have support at hollywoodfringe.org. This is your new best Fringe pal. That is the email that is mostly answered by Roddy, who I will have introduce himself when he comes in, or myself or Ellen, but that is your direct access to us and the team at Fringe. We want to help you along the journey. Like, the Fringe is a self-produced platform, but you're not alone in that. We're here to guide you, make sure the resources are available to you, make sure you get your questions answered. So please utilize that resource. We also have our Fringe TV page and our podcast. So use past workshops, rewatch ones that you went to knowing that like I only retained maybe 50% of it. I'm going to stick it on while I get ready in the day. And that way, like, I'm still grabbing that information. And again, there's really fun videos if you want to just get a visual of what Fringe feels like. That's a great place to start. Also, start getting involved on social. We are at Hollywood Fringe across all platforms. And use hashtag HFF25 to start promoting your work. Start getting involved in that digital community right now. Make sure you don't miss a beat throughout the entire process by signing up for our newsletter. How many people are getting our newsletter now? Okay, that's not nearly enough of you. So I want everyone, when you get home today, to go to the front page of our website. There is a little tab that says newsletter. Click it, sign up for our general newsletter, and that way you don't miss any upcoming deadlines or any opportunities, because there's a lot there too. You don't want to miss the opportunities that will make life a little easier for you. And then once you register, we're going to be starting participant newsletters, and that's going to be weekly newsletters to make sure you are getting everything out of your Fringe journey. So that's a reason to register early.
And if you're like, I know I'm not going to be able to register until April 1st, we're going to have a sign up link where you can get those participant newsletters early. So sign up for our general newsletter. Make sure you're reading them, because that will be going out in the next week, just to make sure that you're on that participant list and getting that information before you register, okay?
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to try to talk through the majority of our agenda in the next 60 to 70 minutes. It never happens, but we're going to try. Best laid plans. Because we want plenty of time for questions. But with that, because we know this is so much information, hi, come on in, grab a seat. We are going to split things into chapters. That way you don't have to hold on to your questions for the entirety of the event. We're going to kind of split it up into sections and get some questions during that time. So please try, when you ask a question, to keep it to what we've already covered, because odds are if you have a question about something we haven't, we're going to get to it soon. And I think that's it from me. Ellen's turn.
Now we're going to talk about what is Fringe. Because so many people come to us and they're like, what is it? And we're like, oh my God, it's so hard to explain. It's like
because you make it so
feeling,
much of what
a
it is.
community, and every Fringe is different. Has anybody here ever been to a Fringe festival before? Ours or a different one? Amazing. Amazing.
Call out which of the ones are good. It can be all at once. I'm just so curious.
Any of the Fringes you've been to? They're all around the world.
Oh.
New York, yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
So
A big one.
Hollywood is very unique, and we operate so differently because there's 300 Fringe festivals around the world. We're a part of a World Fringe Network, and we all have similarities, but there's also some differences. Our big daddy Fringe, aka the first one, is going to be Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which started in 1947. There was this. Sorry, it's Haverty. I'm like so distracted. Okay, so. In Edinburgh, imagine you're in 1947, and there's like this big international festival that's being curated, but nobody from Edinburgh is being chosen to be a part of this kind of like world showcase. So you're an artist and you create your own festival on the fringes of the city called the Fringe Festival. And now that's the largest uncurated performing arts festival in the world, and probably the largest performing arts festival, to be honest. It's so fucking huge. There's about 4,000 shows that participate at Edinburgh Fringe every year. And Hollywood is
fucking huge is the best way to describe it.
yeah, it's so fucking huge. It's so overwhelming, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful time. If you ever are looking for like that, like really month-long, like artistic community from all around the world, it's a really great place to go. We're one of the offshoots of that. We're Hollywood Fringe. We started in 2010, and so we are 15 years old this year. Our festival runs about 400 shows in about 20 to 30 different venues all around Hollywood. Your experience at Fringe is what you make it. It's a self-produced festival. You can dive deep in and become a part of the community, become a part of this like summer camp for artists that happens, or you can kind of do your own thing, do your own show, and kind of be on the wayside. It's up to you. We have so many opportunities for you to kind of get invested, build your artistic community here, build your connections. So many of that, or so much of that is kind of the purpose of doing it. And so one of the things that I would tell you to do now is to just kind of be ready to dive in for the next 4 months. It's going to be a whirlwind, but I promise you that it will be fun. It will have its benefits, and you're going to grow. It's going to be a growing opportunity. Okay, let me get back to my notes. We are the largest performing arts festival in the United States that is uncurated. So that's a fun thing, too. You get to be able to be a part of that. So the Hollywood Fringe Festival is an annual open access, community-derived performing arts festival. We perform not only in black box theaters like this, there's also all the way down to like 20 seats, all the way to about 99. It's quite uncommon to go above 99 seats in a Fringe setting. You will also have some things that are done in unexpected places like bars, clubs, street walking. You'll have those like more non-traditional spaces like Thymele, which is like more of like an open playground for folks. You're going to have kind of every single type of genre going on. There's not one type of Fringe show. There's kind of a whole gambit from your solo shows all the way up to huge cast musicals. By opening the gates to anyone with a vision, the festival is able to exhibit the most diverse and cutting-edge points of view the world has to offer. Additionally, by creating an environment where artists must self-produce their work, the Fringe motivates its participants to cultivate a spirit of entrepreneurialism in the arts. That is our mission statement. Finally, we're a nonprofit, Hollywood Fringe is. We give 100% of our ticket sales back to you, so we're kind of that ticketing platform for you. And that means we've given $5 million back to artists since 2010. It's pretty great. We're also super stoked because last year was our best ticket sales we've ever had. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just in a time where that has not been common in the theater industry, so we're just so excited to see what happens this year.
The average ticket price that people are setting at Fringe is $15. The average that somebody pays to see a Fringe show, including discounts and comps and things like that, is $10. So you're going to take that with what you will. We have tons of resources we're about to go over, so you can set that budget. But just it's more community based. Your audiences are often not seeing one show; they're seeing many. It's a great idea to be able to collaborate with other Fringers that have similar shows to you and help promote each other. Become your own community. I know the clowns have their own like little community. Your musicals have their own little community. The solo shows really like go together. And so you're going to find people that you're going to be able to kind of create this platform together with.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like I think so. Like let's keep diving into like what is Fringe, because I think that is a question we get these next few months as people are registering. Like, does my show fit in? And because it is open access, sometimes it's harder to decide because it's such a large box, right? So it is a performing arts festival. Like performing arts is what we focus on, and live performing arts. We do have a stream option. You are not required to, but you are welcome to stream in addition to your in-person live show. So it can't be like an on-demand digital recording, but you can do that. But overall, it's an in-person live performing arts festival. It is open access. Like we talked about, that means you submit a show, you bring your work. It's not like an application process. It's you just creating a project. It is community centered, and we're going to really like keep hitting this home. Hi, come on in. Because it's a big part of what we do, and I think it is what makes a Fringe or a festival in general so special. You were here not alone. Like to not do Fringe, you'd be producing your own work, and I'm sure it'd be fantastic, but you're doing it by yourself. And here you have the community spirit along with it. It's a place to try experimental work and new ideas. The freedom to fail exists at Fringe because we have that community, right? You have that supportive place to land. Hi, welcome. But it's also cheaper, and I'm gonna say it, like there's no lying about it not being cheap, but it is cheaper. Producing in Los Angeles is expensive AF. Yeah. Oh, like sound young. Jeanette, did you hear that? But it is not cheap. It is cheaper because venues are able to stack shows. So everyone is sharing cost in that way. So it is a cheaper place to take those risks and make your work bolder than it ever has been, because you're not having to fill a 7-week run all by yourself. It's also an opportunity to refine existing work, right? It's not just new work. New work does great here, but so does existing work. This can be the second, third, fourth time you've done a show, and you're looking to maybe not try something, but gain some press, gain reviews, gain awards so that you can move on to bigger opportunities. It's also an opportunity to build audience and network with other artists. At Fringe, you build upon the support in this room. It's, that ecosystem of shared audience, because like Ellen said, audiences are going from show to show to show to show. I might start out going to see Ellen's show, but then I'm going to go see Roddy's show because it was right after, and suddenly now you have this new audience. And at the end of Fringe, you have access to every patron. Every patron is asked if they want to sign up to be or to have their information shared with you, the artist, and 99% do. So you're going to walk away with Fringe with a new email network that you have to use for future shows. So that's a big thing, is to build audience for your future work. Okay, so what is it not? It's not curated, like we said, unless, and this is big, and we'll continue to talk about this today, your material breaks our code of conduct. That's where we step in on the curated front. We don't curate your work. We don't decide what is good, what is bad, what should be and what shouldn't be in, unless it goes against our code of conduct, which would be hate speech toward a protected group. That is where we draw the line, because we have the right not to uplift that work, and that's what we do. And we'll talk more about that, but just so that's our one line. It is also not a place to send your play to have us produce, and I think that is key. It is a self-produced festival. We're going to be here to give you so much support, but at the end of the day, it is you producing, which is also a great place for if you're an artist that is not normally a producer. This is a place to learn. Like, we will teach you how to produce your work. We will teach you everything from marketing and budgeting and press and industry, and then you build that toolkit to use in the future.
And you can do it. Like, you
100%.
Might be sitting here being like, I don't know if I can do that. But I thought that when I first started at Fringe, I was like, how are artists supposed to learn how to do this? But it's truly, we've been doing this for so many years that we have it down to the science. And if you start to go into these rules and play within them, of course you can break a few of them as long as they're not safety rules. But you're going to find your pathway in producing, and it is going to set you up to be able to do this in other places, and it will set you up to be an artist. Because unfortunately, to be an artist in the United States is to self-produce your work. That is period. There is not the arts funding that people dream of, and it's only going to get worse over the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and I think, and it is weird, right? I felt the same. I was a performing arts major, and I was never told that you can self-produce. I was told, like, wait for the gates to open. You got to audition. You got to be told you're good enough, blah, blah, blah. And then I discovered Fringe. I'm like, hot fucking damn. Like, we don't have to ask for permission. So know that that's you're going to gain the school so that you don't have to ask for permission. You get to put your work out there, and the world gets to receive your work regardless of who is opening the gates for you, because you can do it yourself. Lastly, it's not an aesthetic, it's a model. And that's the thing, Fringe, right? We think weird, clown, experimental. And yes, it is all of those things, and those things do well at Fringe, but that is not the only thing that is Fringe. It can be your very dramatic, ensemble plays. It's musicals, it's cabarets, it's burlesque, it's
personal stories.
Yes.
It's the chance for you to do something that you wouldn't necessarily even do on another platform, but it's a chance for you to be able to kind of play around.
Yeah.
It's a playground.
Yeah, maybe it's something that has never existed before, right? So there's room for everything. Know that it doesn't have to fit into a Fringe weird box for it to be Fringe. Okay, at Fringe, I'm going to go over these kind of quickly because you're going to get a lot of information about this. But we have tons of programs that I want to introduce you to. That way you can keep your eyes out for them and know which ones you're going to really want to take advantage of. We have the industry and press programs, in addition to our website hosting audience reviews, right? That's going to be a big thing at Fringe. It is really easy, and no one walks away from Fringe without a shit ton of audience reviews. And so that is an automatic. You're going to get that through the website. We set it up to kind of make sure you leave with a toolkit of items to keep your show going. But additionally, we have press and industry programs that are going to help you if you are interested, right? Ellen said it's a choose your own adventure. If you're looking for that next opportunity to get booked at the Soho Playhouse in New York, or to go to Adelaide Fringe on scholarship, or Sydney Fringe on scholarship, we have these industry programs set up to introduce you to the people who are looking for work, who are looking to book work and bring your show as a co-pro or on scholarship on tour. So we have those programs to help you get into the right rooms and have the right conversations. But no, with that, like anything, you have to really dive in as well. We can't do all of the work for you. There's going to be 400 of you. But know that we try to make sure you have all the tools in place to get that done. We also have the Hotspot program. Come June, you all are, of course, producers, and in your shows, you are also going to be seeing a bunch of shows. So we have the Hotspot program that allows both audience and artist to have cheaper meals, cheaper drinks, cheaper coffees all around Hollywood to make sure that when you stay in Hollywood for 10 hours a day, you're able to save some money on food and beverage. We also have a volunteers program and artists volunteer all the time, and we are so grateful. We are a nonprofit. We really are kind of a bare bones nonprofit. We work out of living rooms to make sure that all of the money we have is going directly into artist programming and your pockets via the scholarship programs and things like that. But we need help. We have a small team of 8 total, and only us are full-time. Everyone else is either part-time or seasonal. So we always love volunteers. And it's a great way if you're looking to learn more and kind of dive deeper. We welcome you.
I see multiple volunteers in this audience, too.
Raise your hand if you volunteered
raise
for
your
us.
hand if you volunteered with us.
Yeah, I know. He'll Stephen come in. Yeah. And thank you. Literally, I know. Don't shy away. We couldn't do it without our volunteers. So anyway, if you're interested, hollywoodfringe.org/volunteers, we would love to have you. We also have our Access Advisory Board. This is huge in making sure that artists have a say in how the Fringe operates. We are big on feedback. We are not afraid to be wrong or make mistakes and be told as much. Yeah. So we do go into every change or every new season with feedback directly from the artists we serve. We look at it as we're a service platform. We are here to uplift your work, uplift your story as an artist, and so how can we do that without your feedback? So if you're interested in joining our Artist Advisory Committee, Artist Advisory Board, you can do that at hollywoodfringe.org/.
No,
oh boy.
It doesn't. I forget. But you
Google?
also, it's a yes. And also, one big thing is you will have to have finished one full Hollywood Fringe before applying to do that, because it's so important that you have the artist experience before you're giving feedback. Because many of our artists that are on that board have done many Fringes, and some have only done one, and that's a really good mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And that group does tend to lean BIPOC as well to make sure that we continually provide an inclusive space at the Fringe. And honestly, how the program started to begin with in
April 2020.
Yeah, I was going to say it was right in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah,
but,
it was supposed to launch in February, and then got pushed. Yeah,
but it was a great time to really do a deep dive into our organization structure and some mistakes we were making. So that advisory board is incredibly beneficial. We also have funding opportunities. We have the scholarship. Roddy, can you come talk about the scholarship and introduce yourself?
Yeah, you want to sit down on my chair?
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Hi, I'm Roddy. I'm the Artist Services Manager over here at Fringe, and a little bit about the scholarship program is that the registration ends Tuesday, so you still have time and to review all that material. But essentially, producing is hard, and we want to give first-time producers an experience into that. And I believe last year we did 10. This year we're hoping to do similar, if not higher numbers. We'll see on funding. But yeah, it's like a $750 stipend. You get a Fringe mentor. You participate in a scholarship cabaret. And yeah, and the staff is here to help you. And you know, we all want to see your show succeed. Yeah. Yes, it is for BIPOC artists who are first-time producers and disabled artists. Thank you.
Yeah, and find out more at hollywoodfringe.org/scholarships. And again, February 4th at midnight. There is still time. Okay, the last one, we have the Artist Fund. And y'all, we are about to dive into fundraising season, and we do this at this time of year because 25% of all of our fundraising in our membership programs go directly into Artist Fund. And we want to make sure that that money is not only going to programs that benefit you, but going directly into your pockets. So our Artist Fund applications for artists participating in this year's festival will open on February 10th.
And our Artist Fund is for low-income Angelino artists only. So it's only for folks that are based in Los Angeles who identify as low income. And low income for us is the HUD definition, which is about $75,000, which is low income in Los Angeles because it's fucking expensive here. So if that is something that you identify as, it's a really quick application. We're just trying to put as much money into as many people's pockets as possible. So it's just a quick, hey, I identify as this, I confirm this. One application per show, please. If you enter in multiple, we'll just delete certain applications so that it's equal. And so we're hoping to give out as many of those as possible. Last year we did 24 $500 stipends. This year we're hoping to do 30.
Yeah, and something to keep in mind with that, because $500, I mean, certainly it can be a huge help, but I want to name that it won't be the make it or break it of your production. Like if you're banking on that $500 to produce this year, it will likely not be, it won't be enough for you to produce at the Fringe on its own. So think of that if you are going to already be doing the festival, because you do have to participate in the festival to get this money. If you're already going to do it, and God, that would help you with some extra marketing, to be able to pay your cast, to be able to, make sure you have a cast, whatever it is, but it should be a cherry on top of what you already plan to do.
It's a leg up, and one of our goals in our funding is to give as many artists as much as we can. But part of that is also realizing that the system for funding is broken. The system for artist funding is broken. And so we're doing what we can to make as many people have as much as they can. If you have gotten a artist fund in the past, you need to wait 3 years before you can apply again. But otherwise, that's the only requirement. You can have produced at Fringe before. Any of that is fine.
It's like the Price is Right audience.
Yeah.
It's like you have to.
It's just like us trying to make sure that every so often you get a little leg up.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, the last two, we have, remember, and more about this later, but we have a lot of marketing opportunities that are free as a part of your registration in this community. Like we'll have Cabaret, and Fringe Central will act as a place for your posters, your postcards, a place to mingle with your audience. The box office, the industry hub, will have panels during the festival. So many things to make sure you're keeping an eye out for, so that you don't miss these free opportunities to get your show out in front of audiences.
Yeah.
That's it.
Now, we're going to talk a little bit about our code of conduct and kind of give some context into our community ethos as well. So this festival is built on freedom of expression and lack of censorship, which means that we must maintain the utmost respect for one another to create this safe space to be able to create this important work. We want a space where people can take risks, but also there's a box so that you can kind of understand where those risks can lie in. We don't censor your words unless they're actively harmful or hateful towards a protected group. For example, women, people of color, queer and trans folks, disabled folks, deaf folks, fat folks, religious folks. It's just not cool. And it's just not going to also do you well as an artist. It's not going to bring you to that next level. It is going to be a checkbox that somebody says, you know what, this is not going to be good for my theater either. So it's also to protect you so that you can continue to make the best work possible. This limit is set by our Access Advisory Board, and so they work really hard to make sure that it is, of course, allowing for satire. So if you are a BIPOC folk and you're trying to make fun of your own community, it is very different than somebody coming in and making fun of your community and they're not a part of it, right? If you are a woman and you're making fun of trans folks, probably not the great idea, even though you think that I'm woman, they're women. It's a little bit different, right? If you're trans and you're talking about your identity as a trans person and then making fun of a woman that has a cis woman in a way that doesn't speak to your identity, also probably not great, right? So it's about checking in with yourself, checking in with your team, making sure that everybody is comfortable with the words that are being said on stage and that everybody kind of has that limit that they can kind of push to and have that like kind of grading without completely like disabling your production. I'm going to read these words because they're important. We have a very diverse community, one that often has more women and non-binary people producing than men. And we attempt to foster a community where these folks don't face all the gendered issues they typically face in every working environment. We're on a path to making Fringe more accessible. This sometimes means that we might use disability terms that you're not familiar with, or the interpreter might block your way of a show. But this is something that we can kind of take a beat with and understand that this is to benefit the community, and we can just have that little moment of uncomfortability. We're in a space that is committed to anti-racism, not only through our words, but through our actions. In many environments, people face microaggressions and racism on a daily basis. And at Fringe, we're actively working to keep these behaviors out of our spaces. We are radically aware of this, and this is something that we are really trying to make sure we, as a community, come in with the understanding about. We're fiercely protective of our community ethos and reserve the right to ask anybody to leave or to take a break at any time. This isn't to scare you, but to actually encourage you to take this path with us and to build the world that we all want to see.
Yeah, and the world is kind of shit in a lot of ways, right? Like, I'm gonna speak frankly, and I think the conversations I've been having with my friends, my family, my community, is that community is so important right now, and so this has always been something that has been super important to Ellen and myself since we took over the festival in 2021. And we're fiercely protective over it. And now more than ever, this needs to be a space where everyone can feel included and safe and able to take these risks with their work, because these stories are so important right now. The work that you're going to be sharing this year is going to be important and needs to be heard. And so we need to provide this safe space in this community so that we can break those boundaries and really create cool, new, and impactful work. So yeah, it's exciting too, right? It's exciting to be able to have this space because you all deserve it. Okay, so along with our community ethos, we have a code of conduct that really lays it out, what is and what isn't allowed at the Hollywood Fringe, and we're gonna read through it right now. The following is not allowed within the community: microaggressions, verbal and physical intimidation, hate speech and harassment, sexual harassment and assault, excessive consumption of alcohol and other legal substances, aggressive
or illegal.
Yeah, that one doesn't need to be said, but right, legal or otherwise. No excessive consumption, please. Aggressive behavior and disrespectful behavior. And obviously, I think these are pretty common, right? We know these are not only just for professional environments, but personal ones as well. But I think it's important to note that what we do is stressful. Producing a show takes a lot out of you emotionally, physically, mentally, and financially, right? And so there are moments where the community as a whole, when you're all going through Tech Week, no one is going to be their best self. And so these are the times to remember, like, it's the things being aggressive or being disrespectful. It's those stressful moments that are going to be easy to remember, to show each other grace and show each other love, because all of you are going to be going through hell at the same time.
And this is not to say that you can't make a mistake or you can't go, oh my God, I can't believe that had that effect. It's about being able to be in conversation about our mistakes and be able to be in community and have conflict resolution, right? Conflict resolution is such an important part of words, of things that are going through. And as word crafters, it is so important that we kind of take that in and start to learn from, okay, this is how that's coming across.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're navigating the festival, in addition to the things that are absolutely not allowed, we ask you to be mindful of things like intention versus impact. Intention is what we aim to achieve by an action, but not always the result, right? Even though you may not have meant to cause harm, that doesn't mean harm was not caused. And so at the festival, we do look at the impact of something, especially when we go into conversation. Again, Ellen said, we want conflict resolution. We're not looking for punishment. In fact, we actively reject punishment whenever possible. But the ultimate goal is still to make sure our community is safe and that harm is not being done. So think about that in conversation. We also have public versus private interaction that we want to point out, because they're different. And I think it can get blurred incredibly easily here at Fringe, because we talk about we're a community, we're a family, and that is all true. But it is still important to remember that you're going to have relationships with the Fringe that are closer than others. And at the end of the day, settings like this, settings like office hours or at your venue, these are still public settings and still a professional environment. So remembering that a conversation that you and your buddy are having in a public setting might not be appropriate. It might be appropriate at your home at a party, fine, but not in a public setting, because what is overheard may still cause harm. So that's something to keep in mind. We ask, and you started talking about it already, but we ask if you make a mistake to bravely take responsibility for it. And we have so few issues at Fringe. Like, we say all of this now just to set the expectation of what is expected of you and what you deserve too, because it goes both ways, right? But we ask that, you take a deep breath. If a staff member comes to you because of an issue, take a deep breath. Let's walk together in conflict resolution as opposed to jumping to a defensive nature that exists in white supremacy culture that so many of us have been bred to exhibit. And so letting pride go out the window and saying, you know what, take a deep breath, take a moment to grow, and we all move on in a better space.
Participating at Fringe is a privilege, not a right. And I think that that's really important. As an uncurated space, so many people feel very owed to the platform that Fringe is. But at the end of the day, we are putting our stamp of this is an artist that we put our entire bodies behind. And I want you to also see that as we really believe in you. When you're done with this, Fringe is not done with our relationship with your show and with you as an artist. We are really here to be of support for you for that entire year. We want to write letters of recommendation. We want you to be able to put in information about, I had a wonderful experience with the team members at our theaters, And so it's really an opportunity to build really long-lasting relationships. And I just really wanted to make sure that was also said, though. It's just not a right, This is a community that is built by our community, and our community has a say to say what our boundaries are.
Yeah, and again, because you all deserve it, right? You're going to have better art because of it, and so we're going to be fiercely protective of that because we're your biggest fans. At the end of the day, we don't even know each other well yet, but we will walk away from this festival being your biggest fans, and we want to be able to tell other festivals because they call us. It's a small world. We all know our reputation is just feet in front of us, and so other festivals will call. Hey, so and so applied for our festival. What do you know about them? It says they did Hollywood Fringe, and I want to be able to say, hot damn, they are an excellent community member. They have great work. They are a team player. So make sure we can say that because we want to. Lastly, if you witness any of what we're talking about here or see something, email us, conduct@hollywoodfringe.org, or if it's in person, even better to tell a staff member in the moment if you are able. It's always easier to walk through that in the moment, but always conduct@hollywoodfringe.org. We have a whole committee that looks at issues to make sure things are handled properly and with care.
Remember, as a primary producer, your cast and crew are your responsibility. And that's the really big thing that I want you to take out of here is that this is not the last time you should have this conversation because you really have to have this conversation with your cast and crew. 99% of the times, our issues are coming from cast and crew members who aren't a part of this community as deeply and who have just kind of walked into our opening night party and have had a little bit too much to drink and let something in their brain turn off. And it is your responsibility to vet your people. But B, when that does happen, be okay, I am in charge of making sure that this goes smoothly. I am in charge of making sure that we provide what is it? Not restitution, but some sort of some community-based feelings of this is not going to happen again with my team, and I want to make sure that that my team does not stand for this. So it's also about realizing that. And if you have issues if you're in a space or you're in so this sort of thing, the easiest thing is to come over to one of us because 99% of the time it can be worked out in a conversation right then and there, and somebody's going to walk away looking really embarrassed, and having a deep thought with themselves of wow, holy shit, I should probably change this, and hopefully they do, and then they become the world that we want to see. We live in gray area, right? The world is so gray, and we understand that, but there are these lines that just aren't, and that's being unkind. Our first code of conduct was don't be a jerk. Don't. It's so simple.
We've just had to add some explanations to make sure people understand what jerk means.
And then
I was going to say, last thing, just to kind of bring it home of again, we're not trying to scare you, we're trying to encourage and really just make sure the expectation is set because the years of Fringe before you, this has been built by the people who sat in this room last year, the year before, or the year before that, and know that when it comes to consequences for breaking the code of conduct, we can count it on one hand. It's not in 15 years of Fringe, we're just getting rid of people left and right. So just know that the possibility is out there if you really look up. But overall, we do look for growth and want to be able to continue journeys. Let's talk really quick about show content, just so there's no questions there, because material does matter here, like we talked about. There's no hate speech toward a protected group in your show. If you are worried about your show content, if you're like, ooh, maybe the satire won't read, or maybe like I'm just really not sure, let us know. Support at HollywoodFringe.org. We'd be happy to go over things. That way you're not worried about it in May going, oh no, I don't know if my show's gonna get in trouble or not. Let us know if you're concerned and we'll have that conversation. That's another one where we've never had a show not move forward because of content. We've had a couple conversations that were like, hey, there's this little piece here that's insensitive or really not thought through. And so we've had conversations that led to growth and a better show. And even that is rare. So no, like it's out there, but if you're worried about it, let us know and we will walk it through. And I think we can move into questions.
We're going to go through so much more.
Yeah.
Too, so if you're like, what about registration? What about this? But it's on what we've covered.
Yeah, on what we covered.
Yep.
I can
Oh,
move around.
yeah,
I got
well,
it.
The mic.
I'm on it.
Oh, they're passing one.
I think it's going to be fast. We got a lot to cover. Woo. Also, I didn't go to the gym this week. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Hello. Just a quick question. Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's just for the live stream.
Oh, hello, live stream. Can you apply for both the scholarship and the artist fund? Just one? Okay. Thank you.
But we will know the scholarships will be announced before the artist fund closes.
Yeah.
So there will be time if you don't get one to apply for the other.
And you can apply for both. You just can't receive both.
Yeah. Okay, more questions. Brilliant.
You probably have this on your website, but I just want to make sure I'm producing with my friend a new show, one-man show. Where do we start? Do you have a step-by-step on your website, or is there anybody that we need to call and tell us what to do? Do this first. Is there something like that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course, we actually are about to cover that. And we also have somebody that you can call if you do, because we got everyone learns in different ways, right? Roddy.
Roddy Signal?
What is it?
Roddy Signal?
Yes, Roddy Signal. But we have one-on-ones that you can schedule with our artist services manager, Roddy, to kind of give you that step-by-step. And I fucked up. Next time I ask for questions, do me a favor and start marketing your shows now. So when it's your turn, let us know your name, your pronouns, and the show you're bringing to the festival. That way people start to remember the name of your show. Fucked up. Okay.
I think we're gonna keep going just so that we can just start to like power through what's going on. Am I blue or am I green?
You're blue.
Okay, thank you.
We highlighted our sections.
So we've got so many events coming up. You don't have to write down any of this because it's all at hollywoodfringe.org/events. So everything is there, but I'm just going to go through the types of things that you can expect. They're all free. If you're not planning to register for the festival, we ask that you do a $5 donation per event that you're going to, but if you're planning to register, they're free. They're a mix of in-person and digital. So some of them will be live stream only, and some of them will be in person and live streamed, but everything will be recorded and posted afterwards because our whole idea is that we cannot accommodate everyone's schedules. So as accessible as we can be to your schedules, we're going to try and make that happen. Workshops are like more like we have a moderator and some award-winning producers who have just a wealth of knowledge to share with you about their experience. Town halls are just like this. Me and Lois are just blabbing at you. Our workshops are alternative BYOV venues at Fringe is tomorrow. So if you're thinking about having an alternative venue, something that's not in the traditional black box theater, this is a great panel to attend if you're like, I want to do something on that side of things. We've already had our venue panel, which was a couple of weeks ago, but don't worry, it's recorded. So if you missed it, you can go to youtube.com/HollywoodFringe and you're going to find all of our recordings there.
Can I just add something about the BYOB tomorrow? So sorry. It's also, so if you're looking to bring your own venue, it can be a traditional space that's just not registered or a coffee shop or something less traditional. But also if you're doing an immersive or site-specific piece in general, we have all of our panelists are BYOV experts, but they're also immersive experts. So if you are doing an immersive show in a registered venue, feel free to pop into that workshop and they're going to have a lot of information to share about the immersive scene as well.
In 2 weeks, we've got budgeting and fundraising. And so much of that is going to go over like crowdfunding, those like kind of more quick ways to fundraise right before the show is coming up. Anti-racism for white artists. That's a space for white artists to be able to talk about anti-racism in a safe space, be able to explore things and ask questions with some experts who have kind of gone through their own anti-racism process. We will also have a BIPOC affinity space available during the festival for BIPOC folks to come and be like, hey, this is how Fringe is feeling for me, and be able to talk with our Access Committee as well. We have marketing and ticketing. That'll be all about how to market and ticket your show. That's a very important one, and it's a really fun one. How to tech your Fringe show. Super important. If you've never done a tech before, this is a great place for you to be able to come in. And even if you've done a tech but not in a Fringe space, it's just a great space for you to be able to come in. We have Fringe stage managers from different venues who will come and talk about how their venues work, and also give you some hot tips on what to ask your venue manager if your venue tech is not there. We have festival expectations. That one is going to go over awards, industry, how to make the best of your May and June experience. So that's our last one, and it is just a raucous fun time. Our town halls are this one. We also have one about how to make your Fringe show accessible. So it's not just about wheelchair access, it's also about how to make these little changes to make your show as accessible as possible. There's so many things that we don't think about when it comes to accessibility that are free and easy to incorporate, and so it's just a great space to kind of start to get that language in your body if it's not within you already. Printed guide, ticketing, and press. That's where we're going to talk about all of those deadlines, all of those tougher subjects about like, this is how you proof your guide proof, this is how you do all those sorts of things. And right now you're like, guide proof, what is that? We'll talk about it. Number 4 is how to make the best of your Fringe experience. Again, that's going to go over awards, all of those types of things that happen in May and June. So we try and stack it so you don't have to have all of this information up front. But if you're the type of person that's like, I want to know right now, that's where you're going to go to www.hollywoodfringe.org/participants. And this is a written out document that has basically everything we talk about in our town halls in a written format. We also have web sessions. If you have difficulty navigating our website, this is a really great opportunity for you to be able to go and ask live questions. We have our first one about site navigation and project pages, about setting up that registration. Our second one is about ticketing, ad, guide proofs, that sort of second step when you're going into May. And that's just going to be an hour on Zoom. Lois or I or somebody else is just going to be like zooming and showing you things on our website and how to access all of that. Those are also recorded too, so if you can't see them live, you can see that there. All of these dates I just talked about are at hollywoodfringe.org/events. Please save that link. It's going to be so important for you. Our networking events are there as well, which is including office hours. Office hours are weekly meetups that start at the in the end of March, but we have an off-season one. There's a Meet the Venues one in February 19th at the Broadwater Plunge. But office hours are just like meetups at bars where we talk about Fringe, we meet each other, we talk about our shows, we have a really fun time. You are not required to drink, so if you're like, I don't drink, please still come. Often they have food or mocktails available as well. And there's just relaxed settings for you to be able to meet your fellow participant and start to make those connections that we were talking about, like, oh, I have a show that's similar to you, let's market together, that sort of thing. They start at the end of March at about 150 people, and they go up to about 250 people in the room at the same time. So they are overwhelming, but they're so fucking fun. And if you're like, I'm like not that social of a person, guess what? Me either. So you just come over to me, and I'm going to introduce you to the nicest person that I know. And that's like the best way to be able to come. So please come, even if you're nervous. It's just such a great way to get to know the community.
And the earlier you go, the easier that transition will be. Like, how many people are already coming to office hours? Yeah. And so you're going to start to build, you're going to start to make friends. And that way, when we get to those office hours that have 250 people, you already have like a safety group that you know, so it doesn't feel like, oh my God, there's 250 people I've never met before. So do yourself that favor if those environments are more overwhelming.
Roddy will also be at all of them. And so most of them, we're at all of them, but most of them, like there's going to be 1 week where we take off though. And so if you're like, I really want to find a buddy before that, schedule that one-to-one chat with Roddy. That way you get to know Roddy beforehand as well. And it's a great way to be able to walk into those spaces.
You'll find that link in the newsletter. So for those of you that haven't signed up for the newsletter, a great
Another
reminder
reason.
to a lot of links to help you get all of the important things.
Another hot tip, add newsletters at Hollywood Fringe to your contacts. That way we go into your, not your junk folder, but your actual main folder. And you see our emails more than other people.
Yeah, always helpful. I'm going to get a little sound for hot tip. Anyway. Important dates and deadlines. You're going to hear these dates over and over and over again. We're going to keep saying them until you just have them locked in. February 1st, yesterday, registration opened. Hot damn, it's happening. April 15th, that is going to be our registration deadline for the printed guide inclusion. If you want to be in the printed guide, which if you're paying the money, I think you do, make sure you are registered and have booked your venue by April 15th. On April 20th, the deadline for the guide proof deadline. Again, we're going to learn so much more, but keep that date. Like, don't schedule to be out of town on the 20th if you can avoid it. You're going to want to be able to make sure you can proof your guide proof. On May 1st, tickets go on sale. And then June 5th through the 10th, that is our preview week. On June 11th is the opening night party. It's an amazing time. Something to note, make sure you don't schedule, and the venues know this too, but no one should have a show scheduled on June 11th. That is the day we come together and celebrate our many achievements, just making it to that day.
A giant party. Imagine like 800 people all kind of in celebration of the performing arts. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then June 12th through the 29th, that is the official 2025 Hollywood Fringe Festival, also known as our 15th year anniversary. We are teenagers, which is wild. And then
We can almost drive.
we can almost drive. And June 30th, the awards. So it's going to be the Monday following the festival. It's going to be our awards ceremony. Again, all of that is going to be talked about in so much detail later. So we're going to jump right into, I think we can skip questions
registration,
right now.
yeah.
Perfect.
Let's talk about registration. Okay, so there are 3 requirements. You create an online project. You book a venue. You can register before you book your venue, but like to be done with the registration process, you have to have booked your venue. And you have to pay the fee. Then you're registered for Hollywood Fringe, which is like, what? That's crazy. It's like very simple. You just create an online project, book a venue, and you pay a registration. They don't have to happen in that order, but all of those things have to happen. So the first thing, creating a project. I want to mention the category for a second. This is what can really stump people in registration. This is where you decide where your show is going to kind of fit best within our categories. Of course, you can fit into multiple categories. Most shows at Fringe can. But it's about the way that you want to market your show in the long term, because that's also your category that you're available for in our awards. So we have our community voted awards and our sponsored award, or our Discover Fringe Industry Awards. Our Discover Fringe Industry Awards, those are opportunities from our partners, arts partners, that will have extended opportunities like a run at a new festival or a marketing session with somebody who does theater marketing. You know, those types of things. And then you'll have our community voted awards, which is like the Hollywood Fringe Award for a solo show, the Hollywood Fringe Award for blah, blah, blah. So we have new categories this year. So people might be like, what? This is so different. It is. So
We're not gaslighting you.
we wanted to break up some categories that were just way too big, you know, and give some new places for people to do. So there's going to be cabaret and burlesque, clown and alternative comedy, comedic theater, which is going to be comedies that are theater, not comedy. Comedy and variety acts, that's where your stand-up set is going to go, you know. Dance and physical theater, dramatic theater, events and workshops, immersive and games, musicals and operas, and solo theater. So those are our options for this year. The short description, when you're registering, you're like, what is this? That is for the printed guide. So your short description is what goes into any time we're pulling a short description for your show to market it. So say there's a reason, like we get a request that we need to pull something, we're pulling that short little description there, as well as for the guide proof. So that's what goes into our guide that has all of the show listings of what's going on at Hollywood Fringe. It's like 100 pages. It's amazing. And we distribute 2,500 copies of them all around Los Angeles. So it's really important that you have your like elevator pitch down to a science in that little box there, and you have until April 15th to do so. So for now, you can put whatever you want and start to kind of develop that as you're meeting people at office hours, as you're developing your pitch to people. Your long description is what goes on the website. You can format that however you want. There's not really requirements there. There's not like really like it has to look like this. It is your page. It's your landing page for your show, and it doesn't go away after Fringe is over. So it's a great kind of like web presence for your show as you kind of continue your journey. So there's like this registration wizard that guides you through registration. So we have like little hot tips that are going through there. But if anything is ever confusing, you can always email what? I'm so sorry. That's like really loud.
Support@hollywoodfringe.org.
Thank you. And there's
Try it
a
again.
couple of other steps that might be like, you're like, what is this? Tagging your project. This is like, so when we have like our search engine that goes live, well, it's live right now, but like with the past year, but there's going to be like all these little check boxes you can check that will give marketing or also accessibility requests, like information for your show. There's also this place where you can tag it with things that we didn't think of. So this is a place for you to get creative and create, but also think about the tags that are going to be most popular, because the most popular tags at Hollywood Fringe are the ones that show up the biggest. And the ones that show up in the top 30 are the only ones that show up. So if you're tagging it something that nobody else is tagging it, probably isn't going to work. But some common ones that people do are like queer. It's like a very common one. There's also like things that are more like descriptive, like comedy. Hashtag fun. Our favorite that is sometimes always there is
Every year.
apocalypse.
Every
I don't
year.
know why
Hashtag
apocalypse is always a tag, but it always is. So if it isn't this year, then I don't know what we just went through.
Shout out to Matthew Robinson, who I do believe started that trend.
Oh my gosh. You're going to answer some like basic questions about yourself, and that's for us to write grants. So if you're like, why am I telling you who I am? It's because we have to have that information to be able to ask for money. We have to tell people who's producing at our festival. It is always done in data sets. So when you're telling us your income or you're telling us your ethnicity or your gender identity, it's never going to be displayed as like, this person is this. It just is kind of taken as like a more like qualitative percentage-wise, like 30% of our festival was queer last year, which is true. And so you're able to kind of have that information. That also goes into our annual report. So if you want to go this year and be like, what was Hollywood Fringe like last year? You can go to www.hollywoodfringe.org/annual report. And it's also on our new drop-down menu. It's new.
Glow up.
Our website is going through a glub, and so if there's any problems, it's because we're working them out before tickets go on sale. That is where you're going to be able to find all of this data. So if you're like, what type of people are doing things? What was the category breakdown of last year? What was the average ticket sold? What was like the average house? What was the average budget? Those types of things. It's all there.
We give you more information than you could ever want to know. I'm going to note on the workflow really quickly, because there's two different groups of questions on that workflow. It's going to be more demographics about you personally, and those are the things Ellen is talking about that we use for grants and for the annual report in full like pie chart version. And then there's the venue questions. Those are separate, so the venues do not get your personal data. That is just Hollywood, Ellen, myself. Like, we are the ones with access to that. The venue questions, they're going to get the ones about tech and about dates that you're available. So know that those are two separate things on the back end that are not shared openly.
Then you're going to apply to venues. When you apply to them, you're not done. You can't just be like, boop. Okay, I'm registered for Fringe. There's following up to do, and also every venue kind of books differently. So the best thing that you're going to want to do is go to hollywoodfringe.org/venues. It's also in the new dropdown. And you're going to find out which space you're interested in. There's still venues that are registering right now, guys. So if you're like, I don't see a space right this second that is like really making my heart beat, in the next week or two, you're going to see more pop up, and we're going to start talking about more of those as well. Come to our venue office hours, see if there's any people that match your vibe. It's about the space, but it's also about the people, right? You want to be working in a space where you really feel at home and that you really feel a community sense. That being said, it's not your home. So be respectful of the space.
At home versus...
Yeah. Don't ghost people. It's so not nice if you've been like applying and like really talking to somebody, and then all of a sudden you like don't follow up with them that you booked another venue. Like, close that gap, because these are venues that you will likely work in again, and you don't want them to have a bad taste in their mouth about you. You know, that they don't want to be like, oh my God, that person like completely ghosted me. I've tried to follow up with them 2 times. It's super rude. And once
you will want to work with these venues again. It's a small community. These venues are your own businesses. You may want to produce there someday in the future.
Once you book your venues, they enter in your performances. Unless you're BYOVing, they will enter in your performances. And they might not do it right until the guide deadline gets there, okay? We will work with them, and we'll be like, what's going on with you? So don't worry about it, you know? But once it gets to April, and if it's not happening, then you should be in communication, you know? sign your participant contract. Read it. Read all your contracts. If you don't read your venue contract, that's a really bad idea. It's really not good. You have a contract with Fringe and you have a contract with your venue. You need to read both of them. And if you have questions about our contract, you can email us at support@hollywoodfringe.org. We can explain to you what some of these things are. Some of these are just like things that we have to like kind of keep in about like, oh my God, if something happens, you know, like
The lawyer language.
The lawyer language, you know, liability stuff. But most of it is we try to keep it as like not confusing as possible on our end, just because like life is confusing enough. Why make it a complicated contract? Finally, you're gonna pay your registration. Boom! $300 for paid multi-performance. That's the most common. If you have a free show or you're doing like a drop that in the bucket on their way out kind of show, your registration is $175. People always are like, can I do pay what you can? It's gray area. I mean, I don't think it's really a good idea. I think it's like kind of, if you're a pay what you can with a suggested price, it's a no. If it's a pay what you can because it's a $0 suggested price, but people can add a donation to you, it's a yes. You know what I mean? Like it's like kind of common sense. Like don't take advantage of this like lower registration price, or we don't have to have it.
Threats.
I didn't. I mean, I don't know. Workshop program. Everybody who workshops or who registers a show can register a workshop for free. So if you're like, I'm doing a show and I also want to do a workshop, you can do a workshop for free on our site. That's totally fine. And then if you're like, I want to do a workshop and I'm not registered, you can email us and we'll help you register for $50 a workshop. And that is going to be more of like a lecture about how to do marketing. Or somebody did a beef jerky workshop once. That was my favorite.
I still don't believe it, but I believe you.
I mean, I don't know if he registered on the site, but I at Fringe 5 years ago learned how to make beef jerky, and it was an amazing experience. And he also went over alternative forms, so it was like mushroom jerky, all of these different things. You can jerky anything. God,
I want that on a T-shirt.
You can jerky it all. You pay that, and boom, you're registered. You'll be automatically put into our participant newsletter. You'll have access to our participant packet. We have like this little video that is attached. So we're like, hi, here's all the things that you need to know. That type of stuff. And you can register in one sitting. Like people are like, it's a really long application. It'll take you like 30 minutes, you know? Like so sit down. But anything that you're kind of putting out there that is like on your project page is editable up until April 15th. And then it's editable again, but just not that short description, you know? So you can make changes as you go along. Please don't forget to book your venue. So many people register and then they're like, I have to book a venue? And it's like, yes.
Do not make me come after you. I will be the emails you get 10 times a day in April.
And if you're like, I need to see this visually, come to that virtual workshop where we go over how to do this, and we'll be able to show you click by click by click how to get through these steps.
Yeah. Please come join me tomorrow on Zoom, y'all. It'll be a fun time of Zooming and really step by step. So it'll really take any fear of the technology away because I am not a tech pro. But I mean, arguably, not even better than I was, but certainly no one would be like, man, that girl knows tech. And I'm teaching it. So it's going to be really user friendly. Okay, let's talk about what is included in the registration costs that Ellen just went over. So it's your listing on the Fringe site, right? The website, which is the long description. And that's going to see well over 1 million hits in June alone. So definitely audiences are coming to that page. It's also your listing in the Fringe mobile app, just iPhone, not Android yet. I'm so sorry. Send complaints to support@hollywoodfringe.org. It's also ticket sales. So we, Hollywood Fringe staff, run the ticketing platform on the website, which means you don't have to deal with people who are switching days or need information. We are handling all of that for you. So you're not 20 minutes before your show trying to deal with audience requests. We have that. It's also the participant packet, and we're going to keep bringing that home because hot damn is that a page how many times can I say hot damn in one day? It's 60 pages of just brilliance. That Roddy it is beautiful. It is gorgeous. But it's going to have all the information you have. So hollywoodfringe.org/participants, that is available to you. In that guide, in addition to all of the information you need to know to have a successful festival, there's also going to be discounts. It is chock full of discounts from photographers, videographers, digital graphic designers. What am I forgetting, Roddy? Interpreters. Yes, and we're going to continue to add to that. So it is a living document. So feel free. It's available in DocX, Google download, and like just right on the website. But keep checking back in. If it's been a few weeks since you've looked at it because you downloaded a copy, check back in. There might be some new discounts because we add those all the way up until May. I'm just spit. Okay, it's also discounted ads on the Fringe website and the Fringe guide. So your guide, the printed guide, is going to have a listing. That does not include a photo. And you can actually check if you have a project page already. There's a little tab that says guide proof. If you want like preview what that's going to look like, that's where you find that. So there's no image to your printed guide. If you want if you want an image in the guide, there is a fee for that. But we do give 50% off to all artists at the festival. But to make sure you get your 50% off, register before you buy an ad. And more information about that in coming newsletters and in the participant packet. There's also discounted ads on the website. Has anyone seen the little square boxes on the right side of the website? Those are our digital impressions. Those are 50% off to artists and a great way to get that visual in front of ticket buyers. Because like we talk about a lot, it's a cross-pollinating audience. So people are going to be going to buy, someone else's show tickets. Oh my God, that looks amazing. So really think about your visuals because you want to grab people's attention.
Also, it's consistency. So start with your visuals now. It's so important that you don't change your branding because that consistency is so key and it should start now. So really start to think about it because it takes somebody about 8 times of seeing an image before it processes in their brain. So you're going to need to start kind of putting it into people's brains starting in May when tickets go on sale.
And even if it's just right, like your image can change slightly, but keep the color, keep a font, keep like a picture, whatever it is, make sure people can recognize it's the same show that they're seeing. You can have all the amazing advertisements in the world, but if you don't know you're seeing the same one, you'll never get the ticket sold. Okay, we also have the participant newsletter. And again, this is going to be why you want to register earlier than later if you are able to, because the participant newsletter is going to keep you on track. That is like we are the fire under your asses to make sure that you're not missing the little pieces that can get lost in such an epic production like producing a Fringe show. Okay, it also gives you qualification for awards. Again, we're going to go over all of the details, but by registering with the Fringe, you are automatically up for our community awards, which are voted on by the audience in all of the categories, plus best of Fringe, or top of Fringe, best international, best world premiere, and I think that's it. But all of those plus the category, like for category award. And then you're also up for Discover Fringe Awards. And these are going to be the opportunities. We partner with local and not so local arts organizations to provide opportunities for Fringe shows that are ready to go to that next level. You'll also get reviews on the site. We talked a little bit about this, but you're going to get those pull quotes, those audiences that are going to honestly help you. Whatever you do next, these reviews are going to be so helpful in your journey. And 99% of them are positive. It's just such a loving audience. The audiences at Fringe know they're coming to see emerging artists and new works, and they are so just excited to see that raw version. You're not getting the audiences from the Pantages that are like, well, that prop looked cheap or whatever.
Well,
no,
you
no,
might,
no. But overall, they're going to be really, really kind reviews. And additionally, we do have, so if it's not a good review, I'm just going to name it now. We don't take them down because it doesn't make you happy. We will take them down if they break our code of conduct, if they are personal in nature, attacking a cast member specifically or a crew member, director, whatever. And if that ever happens, just let us know. But I wanted to name out there that like we don't take reviews down because you're like, well, they didn't like my show.
So you can take down your reviews in general. If you don't want reviews, you don't have to have them public.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, you can't have like your cake and eat it too, right? You got to choose one or the other. You also have access to press and industry, like we talked about already. You're going to have access to all of the resources in that program or those programs. You have the workshops, panels, town halls, all of these events that we're doing here to prepare you from A to Z. You should, we have a lot of participants that come fresh out of college or brand new to the industry. If you take it seriously and attend all of the events, you will know how to have a successful show by the time we get to May. Also, it's the festival marketing. So again, you are all producing individual shows. We are here to help you, but we're producing the festival as a whole, which means we are marketing the festival as a whole. It's your job as artists to make sure that people are noticing your show amongst the crowd. But on our end, we do the printed guide that we get all over Hollywood. We'll do posters. We do postcards for the festival and distribute them all over Hollywood. We do pole signs. In fact, somebody just let us know on Instagram that we still have 2 that have gone rogue. 2 of our our pole signs from that are like, yeah, I have to email the
love
company.
that.
But there's just 2 that somebody left up. So apparently all year round we get some pole signs. But we, in general, have them just in May and June. And then we have billboards. We've already confirmed billboards at Hollywood and Highland with video images to promote the festival. So we're going to do the job of getting people to the Fringe website. And it's your job to make sure they notice your show. Does that make sense? Okay, additionally, we have access to staff. You have access to our team. We love theater, we love artists, and we want nothing more than to see your work shine at the festival. So please, we are here to help in any way we can, sans producing your show for you. It's also, it's fun, it's networking, it's summer camp for theater artists. So dive into that new community, and we really see people create networks here. The amount of shows that we've seen, artists have meet, and now there's production companies. Hell, there's families that have come from Fringe. There's so many
Lois and I
children.
weren't best friends before Fringe.
No.
And now we're best friends.
Truth. We traveled together more than her and her partner.
It's fucking crazy.
So it is that family, and because again, you have 400 shows, 2,000 performances, you're going to meet so many people. Fringe was the first community I found in Los Angeles. I came and started volunteering, and I was like, oh my God, I feel okay here. I feel like LA is not the big, scary, distant place. And I'd lived here for a long time before that. So you have that opportunity here to kind of find your co-creators, people that you're going to envision new ideas with, all of that. Okay, I'm going to dive into book your venue a little more detail. You went through a great rundown. Some things to think about as you start your booking journey, y'all. The first rule is it must be performed in the Fringe zone, which just changed. If you got the newsletters, you will have noticed our zone changed this year. We are thrilled to be expanding just a little bit to the east. So our new zone boundaries are north on Franklin Avenue. East is now Vermont, which means there's also some new venues added to /venues, so check that out. A few more will be added as well. To the south, we have Rosewood, and to the west, we have Fairfax. So again, this is new. There's even a little map on hollywoodfringe.org /zone. So if we learned anything, you can pretty much / any words you're looking for and find it on the Fringe website. We try to make it easy for us, if nothing else. But so that's the new zone. So that is a rule. Your show has to participate within those boundaries. You can apply, of course, through the website, hollywoodfringe.org /venues. And all of the venues that are up there are they're participating in Fringe. They regularly book shows. A lot of them have been doing it for 13, 14 years. They know what they're doing. You can certainly also book a venue that is not registered on the site. You're just going to have to wear that venue hat. So tomorrow's workshop will be super, super important if you want to run your own venue, because you're going to have more responsibility. I'm going to name it outright. It's totally doable, and some people adore that challenge, but you will be taking on 2 roles at Fringe, both producing your show and running a venue, even if it is just for your production.
So maybe do it first, maybe do a Fringe first before trying that on.
Yeah.
I think it's a second step.
Yeah. And remember, watch the venue panel we had last Monday to start your journey. There's some really, really great information in there. I'm going to repeat it again. Ellen already said it, but follow up. Don't think that just because you submitted to your venue that the job is done. It's like applying for college. You got to wait for that acceptance before you can, breathe a sigh of relief. You must close a deal. So you're going to start to see, as venues start to book in, you're going to see deals pop up to the website. It's a pretty self-explanatory process, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but know that that's a part of the journey. The venue, when you talk to a venue in person, you work things out. They're eventually going to send you a deal on the Fringe website. That is your schedule. You're going to look at that twice because we're all human, right? And some of the venues are scheduling 100 shows. So look at those so the date's right, and then you're going to accept the deal. It's kind of your little digital agreement with the venue that you've made a deal with. That deal must close on April 15th. So know that part of that printed guide deadline is you have to book your venue, but you have to do so on the Fringe website so I can see it, so that I see that you have performances. All of that has to be there, right? Okay. Also, I think... Remember, no, that's pretty good. We have venues here. I saw a couple pop in. Yes, so I'm going to, if y'all want to do a quick intro, because we have 2 here today, y'all, and just maybe 60 seconds, because we're not going as fast as we did at the venue panel.
If you guys want to come up here so the video can see you. Yeah, and if you want to spot.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Hi, I'm Jen Crafts, and I represent the Madnani Theater, which is over there next to the McCadden on McCadden, and Thymele Arts, which is on Santa Monica and Western. Between the two of them, it's 5 different venues. We have everything from a grand 99-seat hall that can be either like a traditional space or immersive space. It's really cool. All the way down to like a 30-seat, really intimate venue. Some of them are more traditional than others, and some are more fringy. So come check us out. And also we might have, well, we will at least have one more that's coming up that we'll be adding. It's called oh my gosh, it's called Howard Fine Acting Studio. They are actually moving. They are an established venue, but they are moving to a new building. It's actually the old Sam Ash space that's across from Guitar Center on Sunset. It's going to be a nice 50-seat venue. They are literally building it from the ground up. It's like drywall right now, you guys. But they are moving in March, so it will be available for booking hopefully in March. And then we have got one that we're just waiting on the landlord to give us the okay, and then it'll be back. I really, really hope. But we're not talking about that one yet. So yeah, come talk to me.
Hi, I'm Casey. I'm the assistant venue manager at the Zephyr and upstairs at El Centro. Yay, Zephyr. We have, the Zephyr is a 74-seat, 3/4 thrust theater. We've been doing Fringe at the Zephyr for upwards of 10 years. My boss is very, very knowledgeable on everything Fringe. This is our first year we're going to be doing Fringe at upstairs at El Centro. It's located on Santa Monica and El Centro. Up some stairs, we've got 47 seats in there. It's very, yeah. 47 seats. We got all LEDs. We got some Marley flooring in there. If you have any dance numbers or anything, any physical activity in your show, yeah. So talk to me. I've got some flyers and yeah.
Awesome, thank you. All right. Perfect. Let's jump into your project page, and then we're going to take questions about all of this registration workflow, you know, early steps. Okay, so your project page, and again, come tomorrow if you want to see it visually, how to do it. But this is going to be your hub for marketing your show and selling tickets. This is like a social media account meets your like your Eventbrite, right? Like it's gonna have all of the things, because the key thing with Hollywood Fringe is we want you to have as much autonomy over your show as humanly possible. So you get the control right there at your fingertips. If you wanted to change your ticket prices day to day, you can. It won't be reflected in the printed guide at a certain point. But
Probably not good for marketing.
No, don't recommend it. But you can add discounts every single day, or you can so you have at your fingertips full access to do anything on your project page that you see fit. You can post pictures, videos, trailers, and y'all please take advantage. So often I see one photo, and right now it's fine, right? You're in the process of updating everything. But in June, I still see 1-2 photos, and that's why are you not giving your audience more? Like they want it. We live in a world of Netflix. People watch trailer after trailer after trailer before committing to something. So give your audience as much material as humanly possible. All the things we were talking about already, like show category, taking your projects, short and long descriptions, all of that is in there, right? And again, you have until what date to finalize? Okay, friends, we love it. So nothing is locked in before that. Play around with it. Share it with friends. Like, hey, you know, to your other artistic, your writer friends, like, will you look at my page? Does anything as a third party look, you know, weird to you, or do you like it? Make sure you're also paying attention to your flags. Like, there's going to be a lot of options. As you start, we'll talk more about accessibility, but really, like, dive into that page. I want you to get to know it, because that is your window into your audience. So spend a lot of time there. Also worth noting, your category can also change. You don't do that on your project page, though. This one gets tricky. You have to go back into your registration, which there's a little button underneath your image that has your registration. So if you do want to change your category, you have to go back one step there, but it is very possible. Additionally, this is where you post your press releases. We'll talk more about that, but your press release there, because we register press at the festival, and they're going to go to your project page to get that information when they're writing an article about your show, or considering going to your show to write an article about your show.
And you don't have to worry about that until like April. No. Okay, so right now, if you're like, oh, I need a press release, April.
But learn where everything
February
lives.
February 2nd.
Yeah. This will be where you collect reviews. So again, Ellen mentioned, I think this note is important. It creates a Google presence for you. Your project page will be up there forever, as will your reviews. Like, so when somebody Googles your show, maybe you're trying to sell your show to Netflix, or you're trying to get, into a larger festival or produced by a large venue, this page can allow for that little portfolio. Like, and also when you're booking someone, you Google them, right? Like, we all kind of do that research. Now this will be an asset that pops up for you and your work. Additionally, your guide proof is available there. Again, there's a little tab, guide proof. We'll talk more about this later, but I think it helps to kind of visualize all these page functions. That way you can continually check in, just like we all check our social media way too often. Like, do that with this. Add this to your daily check-ins if you're a social media person. It'll also, when tickets go on sale, again, this page will give you full control, and we'll have workshops, we'll have materials, we'll have so much information about that. But play around now. Like, the tickets aren't on sale. You can't fuck anything up. I'm going to name that now. Like, you can play around. It's not going to crash the site. So test out ticket prices, see how it all works. Now is the time to do that so that you don't accidentally forget to check something before the guide proof deadline. Yeah, I think that's it. I think we could do questions.
Oh, and just to let you know what's coming up after this as our categories is going to be budgeting, as well as like costs, a little bit more deeply about the costs you need to think about, and marketing. So if you have questions about that, hold it. But if you have questions about registration, venues, anything like that.
Yeah. Okay, questions. And I'm going to remind this time. So name, pronouns, and tell us the name of your show.
Hi, Rachel Myers, she, her. Well, name of the show is actually The Question, right? You say everything is editable on the registration page or on your venue page, your show page. Can you change the title up until April 15th?
Yes, but don't do it after April 15th, because that is what's going to go in the printed guide. But until April 15th, go at it. People do all the time.
Yeah. I will note, though, if you're in, if you get awarded the scholarship or the artist fund, or there's something where we're announcing information, keep that in mind, because that will get printed earlier, things like that. Okay. Perfect. Hello.
Hi, Brian McKinley, he, him, also a part of the mystery show. It was mentioned earlier, the idea of doing a live stream of the individual performances. Is it possible as a way to create revenue or to offer to people like, family that can't fly in from another state or whatever else? Could we possibly live stream and then monetize that and sell those tickets?
Oh, that's how we do it. So with the live stream, and again, this is not, nobody is required to do it. You can do it for one show, you can do it for all the shows, you can do it for none shows. But there is an additional performance that pops up. Your venue will schedule a performance, so the live stream and the in-person performance happen simultaneously on the site, and the tickets are different. So there's two separate performances at the same time and date, but you get to arrange how much the tickets are. Maybe that's, there's extra discount codes or things like that. We often see, for access, right, not everyone can make it to a theater, but also a lot of Los Angeles residents don't live in don't have family in Los Angeles. So a lot of people will do it for one or two shows for those two reasons.
Okay.
Something to remember, though, is that you do need to book your live stream technician. So it is going to have that added cost, and also possibly added tech time in the space to be able to figure out how to live stream in this space, especially if the venue doesn't have a live stream technician they regularly work with. I would really talk to your venues a lot if you're interested in live streaming, because some of our venues are more kind to that than others. Some of them have great internet capabilities, some of them don't. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure that's a venue conversation you're having at the forefront.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ryan Whitlock, he, they. My production is Much Ado About Nothing, hopefully at the Zephyr Theater, fingers crossed.
No pressure, Zephyr.
My question, this is my second year doing Fringe, and my question is about encore performances. It's something I didn't know was a possibility last year. Is that something that's handled marketing-wise? Is there support for that through Hollywood Fringe, or is that something we should connect with our theaters about ahead of time?
Yeah, with this year, so there's no official program. There are awards, there's certain boundaries or qualifications that our award partners do. So for the sponsored awards or Discover Fringe Awards, there are certain limitations there. Those are through Fringe. That's where you apply directly through Fringe. We are promoting this partnership. And so there's no official program for encores, but a lot of venues, you build relationships, right? Like you're building a relationship with your venue or other venues in the same way. And so like talk to your venue. There's a lot of venues, or some venues do offer. It's not expected, or it's not like for sure, but it definitely happens. And I think it's a great reminder to all of these awards are possible, but you're going to create so many opportunities by just being a cool person, by having a great show and building a network that's going to give you a lot of possibility that we're not even necessarily offering.
And just to give some context, people might be like, what is this? What are we talking about? Yeah. We are not doing any extension performances on our site anymore because it's not something that our staff could handle and promise the ticket sales we could offer in June. Because in June, in May and June, we are on the ground doing so much hustling to get the ticket sales going, and we cannot continue that throughout the year. Fringe is a festival that has to end. That being said,
T-shirt.
That being said, we do have so many amazing award partners that then step up and they're like, I will work with this artist to continue on their run. And so if you're interested in like what venues might be offering that, it's a good thing to ask your venue. Are you guys considering offering an award at Fringe this year? And you know what? Some of them might not have figured that out yet because it's kind of something that we put together in April and May to kind of solidify. It's really, really important, though, if you're interested in these extended opportunity runs, that you are actually applying for every award that's available to you. Because we have so many extended opportunities. There really are a lot. But you have to apply to them, and you have to be cognizant. And I'm not saying go hog wild and apply to ones that you're not qualified for, right? Like, there's some that are very specific. Like, that are like, this is only solo shows. This is only ensemble shows. This is only for these, like, I don't know.
60-minute or less.
Yeah.
Like,
so, but I think it's so behooves you to make sure that you're one of the first applicants and that you're going in and being really involved in our industry program, because our idea is that there's going to be two types of Fringe shows, right? There's going to be the show that is just coming here. They just want to get it up. They just want to have the festival experience. And then there's going to be somebody who's coming to the festival maybe for a second, third time who's like, no, I'm ready to rig the system. I'm ready to get that next opportunity. I am ready to like make my balls out.
My suitcase is packed. I'm ready to hit the road. Yeah.
And so that's when you really want to dive into that industry program. And so we'll have lots of ways where you can tap in and get really involved this year.
Yeah, and I will name too, again, like you're going to create your own opportunities that we can't even like fathom. But additionally, it's going to give you, I think, ideas of like what you can do with your show. So many, like we work with 4 other festivals, Adelaide, Sydney, Denver, and Italia off. And these are like, we do scholarships with award winners that they get to go for free to these festivals, not, pay registration or venue and only cover the flight cost. And like so many participants were like, I applied, and whether they got it or not, they're like, I didn't even know, like, I didn't think about touring. Oh my God, I could tour other Fringes. So like, there's so many, even if it's just the eye-opener of like, oh, this is possible within that. Yeah, okay, more questions? Yes.
Hi, I'm Viva Rose. My pronouns are she, her. My show is called Hidden Gem. It's a stand-up comedy solo show. My question's kind of technical about what you were just talking about. You mentioned that you can edit everything on your project up until April 15th, but then you also mentioned that like photos and trailers are really good to have. So is the idea that you would have all your photos and trailers by that date, or is there like a different editable area for like during your run to like add stuff?
For April 15th, you need to have anything that's going to print, which is going to be in that guide proof section, and we'll go over that closer to the guide proof time. And you'll get a full email that'll give you step by step.
You'll get like 12 emails.
How to check your guide proof. That all needs to be set by April 15th. The rest of it can be editable anytime. It's just for marketing sake. You probably want that to be set to go for May 1st so that it's not changing events while tickets are on sale. That being said, you might learn from your marketing, ooh, I need a better video. My video ain't selling, So you can always edit those types of things throughout the festival, even after the festival is over,
Yeah. And I think a clarification that might answer some questions. It's not like we lock it in and it's not touchable after that date, y'all. So it's like we pull the information and then you can keep changing it, but we're not going to pull a different copy. You know what I mean? So it's not, nothing gets locked on the site. Yeah.
Thank you for hosting this. My name is Cam Potter, he, him. I have a solo show called Just to Be Close to You. It's a clown show. And I'm curious, I've participated in another Fringe, and foot traffic was a big part of getting people in the door. Obviously, that's much harder in LA. Yeah. So I was curious, is that a thing? Like, is flyering a thing? Are clusters of theaters around each other a thing?
So
Use
we
the
get to talk
buzzword.
about our new announcement, which is that how we're marketing the festival this year is changing. We're changing it to be clusters of venues so that it can be easier for one person to have that walkability experience. Our venues are more disparate and farther away than a lot of other fringes because Los Angeles is a different ecosystem.
Big ass city.
But it is, all of it is off of public transit, and we're developing a map right now that we're working on to try and help audience members have this like new participation idea that they go to the East Zone for one time, they go to the Central Zone, they go to the West Zone, and have like different hot spots and eateries and bars, and they get this like long experience where they can spend their full day at Fringe. That being said, we do not have the flyering culture of other fringes. And you'll actually want to, so for Edinburgh Fringe, they recommend you print 5,000 flyers, 5,000 to hand out to people.
Don't you dare.
We
No one in this
recommend
room.
500. It is not a flyering festival in the same way. That being said, we do have a flyering culture that is more like a business card culture. So yours is going to be more, I'm talking to you about my show. I'm going to hand it to you within that conversation, and you're going to remember me and maybe talk to somebody else about it. It's also really common to do that with audiences at our hotspots. Yes. So each of our zones is going to have kind of like an artist hub where artists hang out, and we'll advertise that also to our audiences so that they know if they're like, I want to go where the artists are, they're obviously coming there to come and talk to you about your shows. So that's our idea this year. It's brand new. We'll see how it works because it's trying to kind of navigate that problem of we have like these hubs of here in Central Hollywood, and we have them that have not been marketed properly. And so now that we're marketing them properly, we might have a little bit more of that. The one thing that also doesn't exist here, it's really rude to flyer a line of people waiting for another show, where in other fringes it's not rude, but like here people don't like it. So like you just have to kind of like take in the Los Angeles context, and we'll talk a lot about it at our marketing and ticketing workshop.
Although I'm going to name, even in like flyering culture festivals, like the amount, the amount of trash.
It is wasteful. I find it to be like a horrible for the environment. Like when we walked through Edinburgh, when they were having their chaff strikes, that really like helped us realize how much waste that is causing. Like
how much tickets are being purchased by these flyers and how much they're
just being thrown on the ground. It was disgusting, you guys. And so it is kind of in some ways a little bit better because you're forming real connections, and hopefully that person, if they come see your show and they're interested in it, will be a lifelong fan, you know, and will support you in future shows. That's our whole goal here, is that you're kind of developing those relationships rather than just selling a quick ticket.
Yeah. Quantity over quality, or quality over quantity. Quality over quantity, yes, always. And note with the clusters that we're talking about, y'all, so this is more of a marketing logistics for the audience. Like this doesn't change your experience outside of like, we'll have some cooler like additional hotspots and things like that. But no, like nothing changes in the model. This is just something we're trying to build to bring more butts to your seats, you know, because we're not afraid to try something.
Yeah.
All right, next question, yes.
I love how Lois.
Hello, I'm Chris Buxton. I'm planning on producing a comedy called What Happens in the Dark. And my question is about, are there any specific dates that are like non-negotiables? For example, I have a wedding to go to in out of town for like one weekend in June. Does that mean I can't be a part of the festival, or is there like any specific dates where it's like, that's non-negotiable, you have to be available?
Other than opening night party, no.
I actually just think a request. We want you there.
I actually think it's really important that you spread out your experience if you're local to Los Angeles, and you can really be able to go days between your shows, because it's important that you're seeing shows. So quite often people will take a weekend off, or they will have to do things. That's not going to affect your experience. But what is if you're spending that entire week prepping for the wedding and not coming and experiencing the festival. So just plan ahead and make sure that you're spending as much time on the ground as possible, because it matters in a way that a traditional producing experience might not.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yes. Okay, someone here. Yeah, I'm getting that. Like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a talk show host, and I think I'm living my dream.
I know you get. She
thing.
volunteers every time.
I saw a hand. Does someone have a hand up over here? Well, okay, I'm doing great at this.
All right, let's chat
Fantastic. I spoke
money.
too soon.
Oh no, yeah.
Hi, Will Herndon, he, him. I have a show, a rock and roll comedy show called Most Dangerous Show Alive. And just to clarify what you had touched on briefly about venues. So the venues will be in charge of selling the tickets as opposed to yourself?
So your box office experience is something you need to talk to your venue about, because each one of our venues runs their box offices really differently. Some of them, you're in charge of it all. Some of them, they take on a lot of it, but not all of it. And some of them take it all on. So it really is a venue experience that you're going to need to talk about, this is a great question, because things like that are so different. So some of them will, for instance, ask you to print your will call list, and they'll help check people in for you. Some people will be like, no, you need a volunteer out there checking your will call lists and doing it all yourself. And so when you're in conversation with your venues, just kind of checking in on what they do and don't offer is so important. And so many of our venues have these things, just like we're doing a town hall, they have a town hall, or they have like a packet, or they have these sorts of ways where they teach you how Fringe runs in their venue, unless they're a venue that hasn't done very many Fringes before, and then they might not have that same, thing. And in that case, you probably should just know more. So you should probably get some of that knowledge in yourself as well.
And real quick about ticketing. So just the general idea. So we handle the website ticketing. So HollywoodFringe.org, HollywoodFringe.org, that's our website. I've been / all day. We handle all of those online sales. They're up online. You have also a lot of controls. You can shut down sales if you're like, you know what, I need to save some room for industry. You'll have all of that control. We will handle the back and forth of your audience though. And there's a cutoff, 24 hours before your show starts, we will not refund. But in a world of post-COVID, we will refund prior to that, or switch not refund, but switch a ticket to an upcoming performance. We'll kind of handle those in betweens.
We always try to make sure that our ticket buyers are either switching dates or donating the cost of the ticket to the artist, because that is generally what people want to do. But we're also not going to fight somebody if they're like, I got sick and I can't go. It's just not really worth it to our team, and it's really not worth it to you to develop that relationship with that potential ticket buyer for another show, because obviously they're interested in you.
Yeah, but we won't be at your door, because again, there's 8 staff members, so we can't run every box office, because there's on any given night there could be 70 shows. So that's where you kind of take over in that in-person experience, or perhaps your venue takes over in that in-person experience. But you can choose when ticket sales shut off on the website, so you don't even have to deal with a cash box. If you're supposed to be running your own box office and you're like, fuck a cash box, screw Square, I don't want a Venmo code, you can have your online ticket sales go right up until the bitter end and just put 0 until shut off, and that's going to be the automatic state of the website. So you have to change it if you want to be able to print your real kind. I thought you'd like that, Jen. So you can change it if you're like, I want to print it. I want to go about this really thoughtfully. You can print it 2 hours ahead of time. Just shut off your ticket sales, things like that. So if you don't want to have to deal at all, people can just order from the website.
In our Festival Expectations town hall and workshop, we go over box office, and we go over some best tips on how to handle having cash on hand and those types of things. So if you're like, I need to think about this now, don't worry. You'll think about this in May.
This is the broad, so that you can kind of get your ducks lined up, not in a row anywhere, but get all your ducks in the same room. We're getting your ducks in the room. I have to go pee. Will you do that?
Speaking about planning ahead, let's talk about what costs you should really be thinking about. Our budgeting and fundraising panel is going to go so in detail of every little line you need to think about, and we're actually starting out with a sample budget and talking about the different ways to budget within that and how to work Excel and that kind of stuff. So it'll be really nerdy and fun. So if you're a little overwhelmed by what I'm saying now, come to that. But the big costs that you're really going to want to think about: registration fee. So that's $300, $175, or $50. Your venue rental. That's going to be probably your biggest expense, and that's something that you're going to want to work out as soon as possible, which is why it's so important for you to be shopping around and talking to people now. Your production fees, so say you're paying people on your team, say you want to live stream, say you want to have a set, say you want to have these sorts of things, you're going to need people to do these things, and you're going to need to buy things in order to make them happen on the stage. You're going to have to think about things like costumes and props, but the fun thing about Fringes is that this could be a costume. It's really, nobody is expecting the Pantages. Nobody is expecting giant light cues. And actually, you probably shouldn't think about that, because a lot of our venues can accommodate it. It is really supposed to be a stripped down version of your show that you then take on to bigger and greener pastures, right? So this is the bare kind of minimum that you're going to want to start to think about, and you're going to want to think about how to be really thoughtful and make some really exciting artistic choices, and because these challenges are going to come up where you're like, I want this big vision. So how do you do that in a smaller place, right? You're going to want to think about marketing fees. Some people spend $0 on marketing. Some people spend $1,000 on marketing. You can spend an unlimited amount on marketing. It's going to be so important for you to understand how you like to work, what age your audience is, how they work, and be able to come to our marketing and ticketing workshop where we have people of different ages, experiences, and genres talking about how they do it. Because it's so different. Marketing is one of the hardest things to talk about because it's personal. And you're going to learn what works for you through this process, and you're going to find your way to do it, okay? It sounds really overwhelming right now because there are a million ways to do this. So start to think about, if you're a social media person heavy and you know you're going to do social media advertising, put that into your budget. If you're like, you know what? I am an older person, and I have a great community in this community group, and I know that they have a program that goes out, and I'm going to do a little program at it, $250, to just tell my community and remind them that I have a show coming up without me having to tell them all individually. Might be a good idea, right? So you're going to start to think about these things in your life, the people you will already be inviting to your show, and then how to kind of get that community around them through your marketing budget. And we have a whole workshop about it, but this is what you want to think about when it comes to money. Budgeting. You're going to set 3 different types of prices. You're going to have your regular price. That's going to be somebody who picked up the Hollywood Fringe Guide. They opened it up because they wanted to find a show that was about $15, and they go to the website and they purchase a ticket at a regular ticket price. You're going to have your participant price. You set your participant price, and that is anybody who's attached to any project page that's current at the festival will get that rate. So it's a great way for you to be able to have a $5 artist ticket, something that you can make sure that your fellow artists feel supported. And another great way to make sure that your fellow artists feel supported is through this thing called comp swapping, which is where you will comp them to your show, they comp you to their show, right? So these are these kinds of ways that you can be community oriented. You're going to have your community price, and that's going to be automatically $1 off, and that's anybody who bought a ticket, bought a button. So the Hollywood Fringe button, every participant gets one, but they get the participant price. But then we also have these community buttons, and those are people who are seeing lots and lots and lots and lots of shows and go to a lot of our things, and they automatically get $1 off to all these shows.
Give anyone a badge and they will really dive in.
Some other types of tickets that you're going to want to think about. We have a membership program, this membership program that 25% of the fees goes into our artist fund. That program, for our members, we have about 60, we're hoping to have 100 this year, of people who get access to a discount list of shows. These are people that usually see between 10 to 15 shows. And we have an ask for artists that want to give tickets to members with $5 off. We have this form that you fill out, you create the discount code that we tell you to create, we tell you how to create it, and you automatically give people $5 off. You can put that as a ticket price inside there. You're also going to set your own discount codes for your own people. So remember, you had this community group that you were doing this ad in. Maybe on that ad you say, use code CUTE for $5 off tickets or whatever, and they automatically get that. That's also a great way for you to be able to track that ad spending and figure out if that ad worked or not. So you can make as many discount codes as you want. Nobody has ever made enough where they've run out of codes. So I challenge you to do that. Use as many as you want to. So these are the types of tickets that you're going to want to kind of think about. So the reason that I said that it's listed at 15 and it's sold at 10, that's because of these discounts that people are kind of talking into. So the average listed price at Hollywood Fringe was $15. The average sold price was 10 something.
Okay.
1071. Look at Roddy with the knowledge. You can tell who did the annual report this year. So once you set your average ticket price, and you're going to have these different types of tickets that you're playing with, you're going to want to put your capacity times your ticket price. I would do the average. So I was thinking that it was 10. I would do 1071 as my average, or $10 or whatever. Just something, if you're thinking about it, and if you're diving into the community, you're going to comp people, you're going to comp industry, you're going to comp friends, you're going to comp people in. So you're going to have your capacity, say it's 50 seats, times your ticket price, times your sell-through rate. Sell-through rate is important. So when you think about it, about 30 seats per house on average were sold last year, about that. That's on average across the festival. That's shows that had up to 99 people that sold out. That shows that had a 30-seat house. You know what I mean? You need to think about your house that you know you can sell. You're going to book that room. So you're going to book, if you're booking a theater that has 70 seats, you're confident you can sell 70 seats.
I saw a lot of eyes go wide there.
Now the thought here is you don't budget at 70 seats. You budget at your sell-through rate, which is 40, 50, and 60%. So you do 3 budgets. You do one where your sell-through rate is at 40%. You do one where your sell-through rate is at 50%. And you do one where your sell-through rate is at 60% of the house. And that is your budget. That is how you create what you're going to get out of ticket sales. And then you don't get disappointed when you don't get more than that, right? Because the whole idea is that you budget under so that you can be surprised. We do this, so the same thing. And then you go, oh, thank God. So even when you fuck up, you have that 40%er right there. And you're like, at least I knew that this was the worst I could do.
Cushion, add in that cushion.
And I'm telling you, if you're here right now and you're dedicated, that's the worst you can do, okay? So you just have to try really hard, and that's the worst you can do. It's confusing and crazy. Okay, so you're going to, so this is your, if you do your capacity times your ticket price, average, times your sell-through rate, these 3 things, that is going to be your nightly gross. So that's going to be the nightly gross of ticket sales for each night of your performances. From there, you're going to do your nightly gross times the number of performances equals plus your donated income if you are fundraising. And that is going to equal your total gross or your total budget that you can spend on this production. Okay? Your ticket sales come to you 2 days after the festival or a day after the festival. We email you. We're like, hey, here's how to request your check. You request your check. It takes 2 weeks to come because the USPS sucks. Yeah. I love the USPS and I don't want it to go away. But also it's super underfunded
Molasses.
and there's snails. So you're going to want to remember, you're not going to have these ticket sales until 2 weeks after the festival, even if you're like on it. And let me tell you, you're not going to be on it. I love you guys, but none of you guys do what we ask you to 2 days of their festival. You're tired. You're frustrated. You're spent. So just remember, like, this is coming back to you. A lot of people use that to like reimburse themselves into their next production. Right? So a lot of people are like, I'm going to put this money back into my theater company and I'm going to keep creating. And then some people are like, I just needed to do this one show and this is giving me the money back that I needed in my savings account, right? Depends on what type of person you are, what type of production you are. You want to fill these gaps with something like a Kickstarter, an Indiegogo, a fundraiser. You want to talk to your parents and you want to be like, hi, if they have money. I really am interested in doing this show, and I would really, really appreciate if you could help me with this opportunity. You know, you're going to talk to leaders in your community that might have connections to things that you don't know about. Arts grants don't exist. They just don't. I've talked to people all of the time about individual artist funding. It is something we as a community need to advocate for because it does not exist. There's one program through the city that they just started, and it's not for early career artists. It is for established artists. It does not exist. You have to self-produce in this economy. It's stupid. It's not fair. It is not good for our economy. It is not good for our artists. It is not good for our venues. It is not good for Fringe. But it is the truth of what we're in this reality of right now. And so we have these ways that people have found success regardless. And we believe in your work. We believe that your work is important. I think that you guys do if you're here. So, or I hope you do.
If you don't get on it, because you're going to need that belief.
Yeah,
as you go
and
through.
exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. So it is really, really important that you are sitting here being like, this matters, and I'm going to put this through no matter what. But also know that if you work with us, you're not going to fail. We're not going to see you just completely lose. You don't need to put $10,000 into your Fringe production, but $10,000, whatever. You know what I mean? That's the Edinburgh Fringe budget. Ours is about half. You know what I mean? A lot of people have spent between $2,500 and $5,000.
And there are sample budgets, and more will be added. If you go to hollywoodfringe.org/budgets.
We're almost done with it, but we have to do it this week because we've been pretty busy launching registration. But before the budgeting panel, we're going to have a budget and then a budget from like 6 different types of productions, from solo shows all the way up to big musicals at different venues. So you can just kind of get a price point to kind of start to play around. We have past budgets up right now from 2022. If you go to
Hollywood Fringe.
If you Google Hollywood Fringe budget.
Yeah, it is /budgets. No, well, there's a hot tip. I wish there was a ding, ding, ding. We have been around for 15 years. We have a pretty heavy online presence. So if you Google Hollywood Fringe Festival and whatever like keywords you're trying to find, it's going to come up. That's how most of us navigate our website because it's just so there's so much information. So we just Google our own things. I'm going to do a quick 2 minutes and then jump into questions.
Let's see why we do this.
Yeah. Great. And I know there's a book right after us. Thank God. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about marketing. Again, we're going to have an entire marketing panel all about this, and come to office hours, learn from each other. A huge thing about Fringe is the knowledge share because there's so much brilliance that exists within your community here. So remember the project page. That's back. There it is. Okay, so flyers. Y'all, we've talked a lot about that, but make sure as you develop flyers, if you develop flyers, you don't have to. Some people use QR codes and just like pop their phone up. But if you do, make sure our Hollywood Fringe logo is on your postcard, especially if you want to leave them at your venue, at Fringe Central, at spaces in the Fringe community. You want to have that logo. You can find that on hollywoodfringe.org/branding. For anyone who tried yesterday, it's fixed. It was a little wonky. You can buy ads. That's something. So all of these things are things you might want to consider with your budget, right? Buy ads. We have eighth, quarter, half, and full page ads available for the printed guide. Those are available on sale now at hollywoodfringe.org/market. And in the next 2 weeks or so, we're going to have templates as well as all of the final specs for those ads. We're working that out with the printer right now. But that is something you might want to plan for, and participants get 50% off of all of those. There's social media networking. Y'all use that hashtag HFF25. Use the community. This is your first audience right here, right? Use each other. Use past Fringers. We have 15 years of past Fringe artists that are pretty deeply, they FOMO hard in June. So they're coming to see work. They're trying to make new friendships, which is what we call a fringe friendship. Friendships. So use that network and use that on social. We have multiple Facebook groups. We have one that's officially Hollywood Fringe run, and then we have several all in the participant packet that are run by past Fringers or current Fringers, people that are really deep into the community that offer those additional spaces for community. Network, show up. Y'all are already doing it, so give yourself a pat on the back. This is everything, showing up. I promise you, when you get to awards, the people you see walk up on that stage, odds are you saw them in these rooms. Something to consider. Have your press plan. Again, these are some things you're going to think about later, but do you want a budget to hire someone to do your press? Most don't. It's not something that is necessary to your Fringe journey. But think about press and that side of outreach and marketing when it comes to your budget. Also, start to learn your audience now. Y'all, that is everything when it comes to marketing. Try to make sure you are, is your show about food? Well, then you have a whole audience that in the food culture and the foodies that it's not necessarily the same audience as other Fringe shows. So start to find out and ask each other as you're pitching to each other at office hours. Start to learn who your show is vibing with and start to focus your marketing efforts on those communities. You want to add something?
No.
Oh, we're almost. Remember, we have a whole workshop all about this. So we're going to wrap up with just a quick, why the hell we do this, to remind you what this community is all about.
Community. We do this for each other.
Yeah, if it was a drinking game, it would be so dangerous because community is such a big part of it. To cross-pollinate our audiences and build new ones. That is huge for us. You are sharing audiences and growing your show's audience.
It's a producer's training ground. The entire timeline and events kind of helps you through learning that process. And it's also a culture of cooperation and supportiveness and mutual appreciation in the arts.
Yeah. And it's important. Everyone in the room is a player. Y'all, every show is important and has value. And it is the Fringe was started in Hollywood specifically because there was a ton of theater. I know, it's not a theater town according to some, but it is a fucking theater town. And there's theater happening all over, but there was no one place for everyone to join together. So there wasn't strength in LA theater, right? And so that was why the founders made Hollywood Fringe, is they wanted a sense of community within the theater world. So that's huge for us.
Lastly, it's a summer camp for artists. You get to fully immerse yourself in what you love for an entire month, and actually for 4 months as you're kind of leading up.
It's happening.
You have a reason to do what you do. You know, there's so many reasons. You open up a page and you're like, I have no reason to do this. Now you have a reason. It's a driving force in making something that matters to you.
Yeah, right. Because the timeline. A lot of people say that all the time. Okay, y'all. We're gonna stop talking at you and do one last round of questions. First, really quick, I want to get the live stream to make sure if there's anyone on the live stream.
And we only have 7 minutes, so if we
no questions, great.
cut off questions early, we'll be outside and we can talk to you guys outside 1-to-1 as well. So if you're like, this is more personal to me, we'll be outside and we can talk to you.
100%. And what's the email? Support at? HollywoodFringe.org. Oh, okay. I saw a question here, and then I'll come up here.
Okay, hello all. My name's Taylor. My show is called Vampire vs. Autism. One-man physical dance theater show. So exciting. My question's about like scheduling and stuff with those office hours. That's on the schedule page, right? Or did I hallucinate and not see that?
Yeah, HollywoodFringe.org/events, all the way at the bottom.
Okay, cool. That's all.
Other questions?
Sorry, I'm walking right in front of the stream. Sorry.
I can't help but ask this question. The gentleman over there said he has a show, What Happens at Night? In the dark, yeah. In the dark. How can you see it?
But
I love it. Oh, right there, my friend, and then we'll get you.
Hello, Will again, he, him, Most Dangerous Show Alive. Just want to clarify, tomorrow's workshop is the BYOV, and then following Monday is the web course, correct?
Yes, you got me there. Sorry, I'm doing both of them, so in my head, tomorrow is BYOV on Zoom from 7 to 9 p.m., and then next Monday is the Zoom sessions.
Cool.
Yes, good job. Okay, someone's paying attention. Yep, thank you.
Hello, I'm Daniel Shar, he, him. My show is called Near Sex for Work, and I'm kind of looking for producing partners. I know you talked a lot about like self-producing, but is there a way to find, free agent producers who might be looking for a project to get involved with?
Office hours. Ooh. That's really where people are going that are like, I'm not really doing Fringe this year, but I'm kind of like interested in meeting folks. And our network is strong. So if you post on the Facebook groups as well, if you're like, I'm not really interested in producing this, I'm looking for veteran producers, I would recommend talking to a few of them. I think it's really important that you shop around with anything you're doing with Fringe.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, I'm right. Can you pass it? Thank you so much. Teamwork.
My name is Miguel, he, him. I'm producing a historical gay comedy starring Nancy Reagan. And my question as a producer is mostly, what do you guys suggest that is already done or already sort of set in place before putting money towards the registration or the venues? Meaning, for example, should we have a budget, a script ready? Like, in your opinion, like for most successful pieces, like what should be done before I actually put the $300 down?
I would say a budget is a good idea, and it doesn't have to be the final. Yeah. But I think it's a really good idea for you to make sure that you can afford it and that you have an idea of what you're willing to risk upon it before you start in any contracts. Other than that, no. I mean, people are editing their scripts up until tech time. It's really rude to change it after that, though. So don't do that. But it's this culture of artists. So there's not really a right or wrong answer there. People all the time break our rules. Just don't break our code of conduct.
Yeah. I will also, worth noting, you matter more than a show. So please, no one in this room, no one doing Fringe, put whether you can pay rent the next month on the show. Yes. Please, it is worth waiting. If it's the story that needs to come out, it will come out next year. Please do not put yourself in harm's way in order to produce art. You matter more than that. Okay?
Fringe is not going away.
Yeah. Okay, right here. And this is going to be the last question, but again, y'all, we will stay for, thank you. So, forward.
Hi, my name is Lorne. My pronouns are they, them. I'm doing a solo musical called The Young Jane Show, which I only have one page written.
Woo, one page though, yes!
So starting off strong there. So my question is, are there any opportunities, I guess, to host events? Just given the nature of the character that I'm developing, they're very like silly, weird, out there, crazy. They're basically a very unstable 16-year-old queer artist, which describes my personality in a nutshell. Yeah, so I would be interested in like hosting some events.
We have cabarets, which are always at our Fringe Central space. And now this year we're doing a lot of traveling cabarets. So we're doing pop-ups at farmers markets, pop-ups in different spaces where you can
Fringe
preview
everywhere.
a few minutes of your show and be able to really garner those audiences. So keep looking out at our newsletter. We started sending out those opportunities last year, and people started to kind of go in with us a little bit on doing busking and doing these like little pop-ups randomly throughout the city. So we'll have more of that this year, but you got to be tuned into the newsletter to see the opportunities.
Yeah, 2 quick additional things on that. If it were to be like it's your character hosting an event, like if it's not your show, right? If you have your show that's in a black box theater, but then your character is hosting like a office hours of sorts event, you can add that as a workshop or event. That can absolutely be like an additional, like a subcategory, right? But as long as you still have to have the insurance for these spaces, like you have to do it right. If it's going to be a Fringe event like that, it does have to be done correct. Or use the Facebook groups and say like, hey, I'm hosting a mixer. Anyone, like I'm in North Hollywood and don't make it to Hollywood. We love and encourage, as long as again, you're taking the ownership of that event. It is not Fringe run, so it doesn't have the Fringe liability stamp on it, but you absolutely, I say that for legal purposes, but we love when people do it all the time, and we love when there's additional events.
Okay, I think that we've got to go, and we got to go out quickly because there's people that have to use the theater.
Yes. So last thing, y'all, this is Bruno Wave. If Bruno, yes, is with the Broadwater. If you want to tour, we talked about it earlier. If you want to tour one of those 2 spaces that's open right now, talk to this gentleman, and he's going to help you out.
And Lois and I will. Yay. We'll be outside. If you have any other questions, come talk to me and Lois. We're really friendly and we don't bite.
Thanks,
Bye.
Happy Fringe!